welcome people of the World Wide Web. So it's Cypher Sigma here and it is movie review time. And yes, this is one I'd kind of been on the fence about. So this is Jurassic World Rebirth. So it stands at a 2 hours and 13 minutes. There's nothing after the credits. So as once they start rolling, you can get up out of your seat and go. Man, I thought this was all right. It kind of gives you a foreshadowing of my thing. So anybody who doesn't know, and it isn't kind of necessarily always clear in the trailers, that essentially this is a new pharmaceutical company have come out of the woodworks, or a new company. They want to basically cure heart disease, and they have a drug that they're trying to produce to do this, to make them loads of money and basically save the world. Unfortunately, they need a component, and that component is the blood and DNA from 3 dinosaurs. So the Montosaurus, the big fish one, the kind of Brachiosaurus typosaurus, and a flying one. And that's essentially this entrepreneur, so to speak, assembles a team. They go in, and it's basically the kind of story goes as most Jurassic movies go. A lot of people get killed and all this stuff, and can they survive? So we'll put the spoiler warning up and we'll get into it. So yes, this movie starts a little bit different. So it starts back in time. It goes back to this island that we're all finding out about, and you have this D-Rex. These people are going into it, and due to him dropping a Snickers wrapper, this kind of causes an issue, and then the creature gets out and kills this scientist. That's all you see of this kind of research facility at the very beginning. You see a few experiments and stuff like this. It then fast forwards to the future and explains a little bit, like, you know, people are whining of dinosaurs and stuff. They're not like they used to be. All the dinosaurs are basically dying out unless they are around the equator because of the or as you assume, because of the habitats, and that basically a few dinosaurs are left on these islands, and that's essentially about it. Then you go to what is, I believe, New York, and you have this Diplodocus laid out on the floor. They're trying to help him because basically any dinosaur that is away from their natural habitat is unfortunately dying due to human elements of smog and everything else. So let's introduce us to our cast. And we have Robert Fiend. He is the entrepreneur. He is Martin Klebs. Essentially, he is the billionaire or the liaison to his company. And then he meets Scarlett Johansson, who is Zora Bennett. She is kind of a gun for hire, so to speak. She does stuff that's off the radar. She's basically chosen to be it because she is very good at what she does, and where these islands are and these dinosaurs are a no-go zone. So they need to kind of go behind the government lines. He also had Jonathan Bailey, who plays Dr. Henry Loomis. Very much reminds me of Daniel Jackson from Stargate, if you've seen that. He was all right. He's the dinosaur guy who's basically being brought on. And then you have Mashallah Ali, if I pronounce his name right. He plays Duncan, who's kind of Zora's right-hand man. He drives the boat that gets him there. And then they have a few other people, Nina Leclerc and Ed Skine as Bobby. These are the guys and girls that are on the boat that make up the team. So as we have them, they are all going on this trip. As they go together, you start to meet a few of the members. They kind of get a bit more money out of the government guy when they first set off. And as you see, as they go along, the Dr. Henry Loomis, he has these kind of darts that they can shoot into him from 10 meters away, and obviously get the DNA, and it shoots a parrot, and they go that, and basically they're after the Montosaurus, the C one. Then the story kind of shifts a little bit 180. So as they're going through one of the oceans to these islands, you then have a family on a boat that are going from island to island. They're kind of a family trip, with the dad played by Manuel Garcia Ruffalo. I remember from The Lincoln Lawyer. He plays Ruben the dad. And we have Luna Belize, who's his eldest daughter, Teresa. She's also from The Manifest, if you've ever seen that series. Audria Miranda as Isabella, the youngest daughter. And then we have Teresa's boyfriend, David Lacona, as Xavier. You introduce these characters. The Montosaurus kind of attacks their ship, and they get stranded, and basically they put out distress call. As we then go back to Scarlett Johansson's team, they're heading towards the Montosaurus. They will see distress call, and they pick these people up. But unfortunately, because they've still got a mission, they kind of take them with them to the island as the Montosaurus attacks them with Spinosauruses. One of the guys gets killed. The basically family jump off the boat as it's heading to land. They throw a lot of stuff off, and then the ship crash lands. In between them getting off, Nina is then killed by a Spinosaurus, and it is. But they do manage to get the DNA from the Montosaurus. So they got one down, and they're on the island. They're stranded. The boat's wrecked. So they then decide to go their own ways. The family have jumped off and kind of gone their separate ways. And then this is the story you have between the family. They go through weird and wonderful things like you would expect. Some surprises, some not. There's a T-Rex and an inflatable dinghy scene, while the others are kind of get the other two dinosaurs and get their DNA. They then kind of culminate at this launch pad, and this is where as the reason for this kind of congregating to this mission or to this building is that's where they believe they'll be rescued. And Scarlett Johansson has a backup plan in place that 2 days after the boat loses signal, that a helicopter will come for them. As they all congregate in this or meet up at the very end, unfortunately losing the clerk in the process of getting 101. The main characters all turn up here, and then this is where you see the D-Rex is kind of hunting ground. It takes the helicopter, but they discover that there is a boat. This is when you have Martin Klebs. He turns on them, takes the suitcase with the 3 DNA things, tries to drive off, and then unfortunately later on is killed by the D-Rex. Scarlett Johansson manages to pick up the case that he then drops. The rest of them manage to more or less escape, get off the island, job done. So what did I think of this movie? I rate this movie 5 out of 10. I found this, and maybe this is more down to we have had so many Jurassic films, it felt very predictable, a little bit tiresome, and adding the family and the stuff added a lot of elements that I always find that works of fiction that you have to have some sort of sensible reasoning within it. Now you have this big entrepreneur, he's offering tens of millions to these people to get to this island and literally they bring like 4 or 5 people along, no guns. They do stupid stuff like, the boat's heading towards the beach, we're going to maroon it. Well, let's throw everything off in the water and stuff like this. We've got no guns and no one's looking out for dinosaurs and all this other stuff. And it seems like no one's clicked their brain on to even do this. It's kind of a default story. That's how I found the mix of the family. I don't think the family even needed to be there. I think you could have just had a bigger team and just had a few good people, and then it obviously going wrong. But yeah, obviously it looks nice. It visually looks nice and stuff. But yeah, as I say, this whole thing of like this family trying to get this dinghy and they inflate it and T-Rex sleeping and then magically the T-Rex disappears. The T-Rex works, I believe, on sound and light and stuff. And like it wouldn't have heard a noise, woken up and gone, I want to go for a drink this way and not towards the noise. There's silly stuff like that. It's just absurd. In the previous movies, when a T-Rex hears a noise, it goes after it. It wants to smash and destroy stuff, like the Montosaurus. I didn't mind the dinosaurs working together, but with the Spinosaurus work with the Montosaurus, they're now smaller than what we've seen on the previous movie. One's lying on the beach and people land on it and they don't even bother to look around. And this is where Nina Len gets killed because it's a 12A and you kind of hide that side of things. A lot of deaths are kind of half done off screen. Like mutating animals and stuff like this, I thought was very clever. Like the kind of bird you have near the end is quite good. The Montosaurus, I don't know if anybody else thought about this. It literally looked like a kind of derpy rancor. If everybody's seen Star Wars, they'll know what I'm talking about. That's literally it. From the trailers, what you saw, I thought it could be a menacing creature. When you saw it, it did look like literally a rancor with 2 extra little arms. Kind of acted like it, and I know there's inspirations from it, but it didn't seem menacing like a lot of the other creatures have. The story was a little bit predictable in places and stuff. If you don't go by the law of, like my wife always says, I preach, if you don't see a dead body, they're not dead, and that's essentially what you see here. There were a few little clever bits, but it literally, I say, you go in, turn your brain off, it's an all right movie come out. It's not one I'm gonna, I'll wait for it's cheap, pick it up and add it to the Jurassic collection, but it's not something I think it's great. It's made a lot of money because obviously the subject matter and stuff. But have you seen Jurassic World Rebirth? What are your thoughts and feelings? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I've been stuff single screen time, and I shall see you in the next one.